The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Yes, we're back again. It's another edition of the Aftermath show. This is, in fact, the aftermath of Daniel Dubois absolutely, positively, as the Brits would say, doing a job, destroying, demolishing, vanquishing Anthony Joshua in front of a lot of people. 96,000 at Wembley Stadium to be exact. So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about Dubois. We're gonna talk about Joshua. We're gonna talk about quite a lot because there is a lot to touch on. There is a lot to talk about. There is a lot to really sink our teeth into. So it's good to be here. It's good to be seen. It's good to kick off the Monday, kick off the week the proper way with a live. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you're watching the playback, thank you for tuning in. Um, you know, so first of all, before we get to the comments or before we get into the talking points, because I do got some talking points I want to run through. Let me go ahead and acknowledge the fine folks that are already here, that are already chiming in and letting their presence be felt. So shout out to everybody here. We got my dad in the building. He says, Pops, he says, shout out to DDD. He did it. Yes, Dubois did it, Pops. And funny enough, right, before I get to Ray's comment, funny enough, I want to give Pops his flowers. I want to give Pops his just due because he probably doesn't even remember this, but my dad has always been a very high on Daniel Dubois and his potential in boxing. My dad's been high on Daniel Dubois as far back as 2018. And look, my dad said this about Daniel Dubois back in 2018. Have a listen.
And do it.
Absolutely. One fighter I know you like from the heavyweight division is Daniel Dubois.
Oh, I like this
Why,
guy.
why do you like Daniel Dubois so much? What do you see in him? What makes him so
I think
special?
he's got power for a big heavyweight. He's got quickness. I mean, he moves good, both lateral, sideways, everything. But he's got very powerful. He's very dedicated to the game. I think a couple more fights under him, and as he matures, as time goes on, he's going to be he's going to make big noise in heavyweight.
Do you see him as a guy who could be a dominant champion in the future?
I can see that. I don't think he just has one punch. I think he's very skillful for heavyweight, and I really like him.
So he was right. He was right. And Anthony Joshua found out what Pop said from 2018 to be very true. He don't just got one punch. He is very dedicated to the game, and congrats to him. Congrats to Pops. I know Pops didn't pick him at this moment in time to beat Joshua, to beat Joshua, but still his initial thoughts from 2018, that was the correct assessment, Pops. So shout out to you. You were always high on Dubois ceiling, and it's come to pass. So yeah, shout out to you. We got Ray in the building. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to Chris. Good to see you guys. Yes. Pops knows his shit. Side of Summarize. Thank you, man. So we're here. And there's a lot to sink our teeth into. So let's get into it. Let's not waste no time. If you're watching the live right now, make sure you smash that like button so this video and this live gets pushed out to as many people as possible. Definitely super chat, all that good stuff. So look, let's get into it, man, because I'll be honest. It is what it is. Like Dubois, he put a beating on Anthony Joshua. Like this was not a regular beating. This was like Crawford Spence. This was, to me, it was damn near like Gotti versus Ward. It was that level of dominance. It was that level of a one-sided ass whooping. Anthony Joshua had no answer for Dubois from the very first punch, from the very first bell. And apart from one moment in the fifth round, because he had a moment in the fifth round where he basically sold out for the knockout. He tried to get a knockout. Things weren't going well for him. So Ben Davison told him, roll the dice, sell out for the knockout. And he tried to do that, and it almost worked. He clipped Dubois with a really, big straight right hand, but then he committed a very cardinal sin in box. He committed a very, very big no-go when it comes to, the kind of punches you throw from a certain distance. Like, so for example, he threw, right before he got knocked out, he threw an uppercut from way out, and he missed. And the worst punch you could possibly miss in boxing is an uppercut from way out in distance, because when that happens, when you throw an uppercut from the outside as a lead punch and you miss, the punch that's very easy to land right down the middle is the counter straight right hand, and that's literally the exact points that Anthony Joshua got put out with. So, he whoops AJ, and I'll put it to you like this: maybe you guys may agree, maybe you might disagree. But I really think that Daniel Dubois with that win, along with Philip Hergovich, along with Jarrell Miller, those 3 wins, just the progression in wins and competition and the level of fights he's been in, Daniel Dubois has to get some serious consideration for Fighter of the Year. I know the guy that will probably win it if he's victorious in Saudi again is probably Usyk if he beats Fury again. He's probably the lead guy. Maybe the better be a Bivol winner gets it. But I think, I would say Usyk if he wins against Fury in December. The better be a Bivol winner. Daniel Dubois and Angelo Leo. Those are the 4 fighters I would say deserve the most consideration for Fighter of the Year. Dubois and Angelo because of the level of activity they've had and the performances in big fights, and if not Fighter of the Year, at least Daniel Dubois and Angelo as well, they should both get consideration for comeback Fighter of the Year. I mean, it's just been a remarkable journey for Dubois, and I really hope he does get some serious consideration for Fighter of the Year, and not just him for Fighter of the Year, but I also think his trainer, Don Charles, a guy that let's be real, Don Charles. This is a guy in Don Charles that for years, he's been on the British scene training fighters for a number of years, but never was blessed with the talent of a fighter like Daniel Dubois. He had guys like Derek Chisora and Tom Little, Frank Buglioni, these guys at British level that were good and solid, but Dubois, I would say, is the first guy from the guys he's had, that I know about, to where he's really, had a chance to work with him and leave his imprint on him, and it's been a match made to heaven. Don Charles, I think, deserves a lot of consideration for Trainer of the Year because in the Hergovich fight, which broke my heart, it's still sad to talk about for me because I didn't think Dubois beat Hergovich like that. But he had the right game plan for Hergovich because Philip Hergovich, I love Philip Hergovich. He's a warrior, but Hergovich is a high level. He's very well schooled in the art of boxing, maybe not so much in the art of fighting. And those are two very different things. You see, Dubois was able to beat Hergovich because he knew how to use the art of fighting to his advantage, to rough him up, to get on the inside, right? And the same thing paid dividends here with Joshua. It was actually a little bit of both with Joshua. So I just feel like every button that's needed to be pushed in all these big fights with Dubois, Don Charles has pushed him. So he deserves really, probably even more than Dubois. I think his case for Trainer of the Year might even be a little stronger than Daniel Dubois for Fighter of the Year because, again, he's been tasked with some very difficult assignments. Dubois is a fighter that, let's be real, coming into 2024, a lot of people said that Daniel Dubois was soft and Daniel Dubois, lacked mental toughness. So for him to be having this kind of year, it was damn near unforeseen. And I think a lot of it, of course, it's down to Dubois and his mental makeup and his dedication to the sport. But it's also down to Don Charles pushing the right buttons at the right time and really unlocking some things in Daniel Dubois that previously were not there early in his career. So, yeah, I think he should get serious consideration for Fighter of the Year. That's just how I feel. So, yeah, man. Love what I saw from him. Shout out to everybody here. Let me run through a couple more comments before I get to my next talking point. Shout out to my guy, Leo Donald, who says, Daniel Dubois came in fearless. I favored AJ's experience, but knew Daniel Dubois would come out all guns blazing for the first few rounds and try to take AJ's setup, and that's exactly what he did. Yeah, that's exactly what he did. He had a clear gap. He had a clear advantage in quickness, youth, strength. And it was that real quick first step of Dubois. He was able to cover a lot of ground early and often. And I think that really messed with AJ. And then with him being so young and physical, that combination of the quick first step to close the range with that jab, a sledgehammer jab, and then rough him up. Those things really, it didn't bode well for Anthony Joshua. So yeah, man. Christopher, shout out to Christopher. He says, shout out to Luis Hernandez. Great performance all the weekend. Yes. Much respect to Luis Hernandez. Young, now professional fighter, coming to us live and direct from Homestead, Florida, one of South Florida's very own. Probably my favorite fighter from South Florida right now. That a lot of you guys probably don't know that name yet, but I got high hopes for him. I think so highly of Luis Hernandez that last year when I went to the Rafael Espinoza Robeisio Ramirez press conference, I took Luis with me to the press conference just to get him a feel for what big time boxing is like. And I remember we met Timothy Bradley at the press conference, and I told Timothy Bradley, I said, watch out for this kid. he's gonna be something in boxing. And Tim Bradley said, yeah, if BT's saying it, then I gotta really watch out for you. So yeah, big high hopes for Luis Hernandez. Love what he brings to the game. Love everything about him. I wish every fighter in boxing could be like Luis Hernandez. I can't say one bad thing about him. That's how much of a high character person he is, and he's also very talented as well. Got real good natural fighting instincts. So yeah, congrats to him on a very successful pro debut. And then shout out to Pops with the $10 super chat. He says, everyone show some support, whether it's hitting the like button or the super chat. Thank you for all the support. Yes, yeah, thank you, Pops. Appreciate it. And then respect to you, Pops. Love you. Thank you for always supporting me on this journey covering boxing. But listen, man, we got more to talk about. All right. Because now that Dubois has went ahead and he's been victorious over Anthony Joshua, the natural question is, what's next for Daniel Dubois? How does he parlay all this newfound success that he's had in 2024 into the rest of his career? Because funny enough, I feel like Dubois, and I said it going into the Joshua fight. I said, look, he's 27, but his 27 isn't like most fighters in boxing. 27. He's packed a lot of fights into his career, a lot of good fights, like Nathan Gorman, I believe. You have Usyk, Hrgovic, Miller. I believe he fought Tom Little. I could be wrong, but I think he fought Tom Little. He fought a lot of fighters. So Dubois has a very high level ring experience, and I also thought with the confidence that it was in a bode well from going into the Joshua fight. So as far as what's next for him, look, the obvious answer is the fight that Dubois probably want more than any other is the Usyk fight, because he got stopped in that fight, but it was a weird fight because it's obviously caused a lot of controversy in boxing. I personally thought that the body shot that Dubois landed on Usyk was fine. It was legal. And, I think the referee and the referee in Poland, they bailed Usyk out. I love Usyk, always been a fan. I'm just telling you the truth. I feel like Usyk got bailed out in that fight. And, Dubois probably should have been the unified heavyweight champion of the world. But again, Usyk got up. Dubois was probably demoralized after not getting the stoppage, and he was just too young and inexperienced to build off that moment, and Usyk took advantage of him. But as fate would have it, God is the best of planners. Dubois has fought his way back into contention, into being a champion, and now become probably one of the most talked about and most in demand and exciting heavyweights in the world. So if Usyk comes through this Fury fight, I don't know if Usyk's gonna bow out gracefully and retire, but if he has any plans of fighting after the Fury fight, if he's victorious, the Dubois Usyk rematch, I think, is a very intriguing fight for a lot of boxing fans, because you're gonna have half of boxing saying that it was an illegal shot, and then you're gonna have people like me saying, "Yo, Dubois got screwed." And really and truthfully, if you wanna, all kind of putting the jokes aside, you could look at Dubois as the real undisputed champion. So that's how crazy boxing and life is. One decision, one outcome could swing the whole fate of everything and how things play out. But again, respect to Usyk, great fight. I love Usyk, love Dubois. I'll love to see them get it on. If not Usyk or the Fury winner, then look, if he can't get the Usyk Fury winner, I would like to see Dubois get either Martin Bakoli or Zhang. I think Martin Bakoli and Zhang, and Martin Bakoli, Zhang Zhilei or Zhili Zhang, and Joseph Parker. Those are the three fights for Dubois. I think any one of those three fights would suffice. Starting with Bakoli, I think Bakoli versus Dubois, I think, has the potential to be one of the most explosive fights in boxing. Everyone who's been following Martin Bakoli for all these years knows how dangerous and explosive he is. But the world really found it out when he fought Jared Anderson and absolutely positively exposed Jared Anderson. Jared Anderson had no answer for Martin Bakoli. And Martin Bakoli is a fighter that not a lot of fighters are running to fight, but he's definitely a relevant, real player in the heavyweight division. So I think the kind of exchanges and the power punching display you would get in that fight would be really good for the boxing fans. If not that fight, then you got Joseph Parker, former heavyweight champion. Joseph Parker, one of the best resumes in boxing. Joseph Parker, a guy that, much like Dubois, took some tough losses early in his career, has come back in a major way, beating Zhang and Wilder back-to-back. So, seeing him fight a guy like Dubois, could he diffuse a guy with the blend of speed, power, and agility of Dubois? That'd be a very intriguing fight. And then I said Zhang. I mean, Zhang, we know what Zhang brings to the table. Zhang is he's coming off a big knockout win over Wilder. Zhang is a heavy-handed southpaw counter power puncher. Very dangerous guy. Only knock on him is his gas tank ain't the best. But if Dubois exchanges with a guy like Zhang, them first 4 rounds or however long it lasts be very dangerous for him. So no shortage of options for Dubois. And I'll even throw in Ajit Caballel, a guy that had a banner year in 2024, beat Frank Sanchez, beat Makhmudov, and really fought himself into relevancy and contention as well. So I think any one of those 4, Bacoli, Parker, Zhang, Caballel, you can pick any one of the 4, and I think those will all be spits. Those will all be great matchups. So, yeah, I'm really excited for Dubois because, respect to Dubois. I remember when I met him. I had the honor to meet him and interview him in 2022 when he came to Miami for the Trevor Bryan fight. And, Dubois watched this channel, like, quiet as kept. I didn't realize he watched this channel because he knew who I was before I even introduced myself, because he was like, True School Sports, yeah? And I was like, oh, okay, he knows. So, respect to him. Good fighter, down to earth. Definitely funny character, subtly. He's got the subtle humor to him, even though he's a bit quiet and awkward. He's really come out of his shell, both in the ring and out the ring. And I think overall, Dubois is becoming a real net positive for the heavyweight division and for just boxing in general. So yeah, there's a lot of good things ahead for him. Let me see what else we got. We got 17 people here. Make sure you smash that like button. We got let me see. We got my main man, Hoops Combo. What's up, BT? Good to see you, champ. Hope all is well. Good to see you back in the chat again. A man right here says Joshua is the most underappreciated heavyweight in the division. I don't underappreciate Anthony Joshua. I very much appreciate Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua has taken British boxing in his era. He took British boxing into another stratosphere where I feel like, British boxing used to be more of a niche thing. British boxing became a worldwide thing because of Anthony Joshua. Stadium fight after stadium fight after stadium fight. He set records at the box office, gave great fights, fought, a lot of names in his division. I have a lot of love for Anthony Joshua. I do think he is done as a top elite championship boxer in the heavyweight division, but I definitely have appreciated his contributions to boxing and everything he's given. So yeah, we'll get to that later on, Ray. I'm gonna get to AJ in a second. I want to sit to Dubois because I want to give him his just due. Alex Fitzmaurice, big payback. Good to see you, Alex. He says Daniel Dubois is in a good boat right now. The mandatory is Ajit Caballel. Tyson Fury could be an option if he beats Usyk. Usyk already talked about moving back down to cruiserweight. Yeah, he did. You're right. That's a hell of a point. Usyk has spoken about that. I'm not really sure if I want to see Usyk at cruiserweight again. I mean, I guess him and Opataya could be cool, but like all respect to Opataya. Opataya is a good fighter. I like Opataya. He's the lineal champion, but like as good as he is, he's not in the class of Usyk. So I'm not really interested in seeing, Usyk at cruiserweight, to be honest. Losses at a young age aren't a bad thing. It's how you respond to them. Look at it, what the Klitschko's went on to do after early. Exactly. So that's why I try not to let one loss be a death sentence for a fighter. As you can always learn and mature and get better. Yeah. Thank God he didn't become Victor Ortiz. I'm with you on that one. This is a question I've been thinking long and hard about. Who do you think has? Oh God. Yo, I'm not one to say pause or no Diddy, but I'm making an exception for this. Pause and no Diddy. We're not gonna answer that question. We're not gonna answer that question. Boxing fans are too quick to write people off after one. They do, and that's why fighters are very reluctant to take fights when the money isn't right, because the money isn't right and they're not going to be compensated for it. They don't want to deal with the backlash of potentially losing a big fight because, it's just people have all their memories. I'd like to see AJ versus Miller if he wants to go on and rebuild. Unfinished business. I like the way Miller looked against Reese. He put in the work after the Dubois. He did. Jarrell Miller deserves a lot of credit. He went down there to Philadelphia with Bozy Ennis, who I know is a hell of a coach, and lost the weight and really started listening. And he beat. I thought he beat Andy Ruiz. I thought Ruiz was very lucky to get out with a draw. And yes, you're right. I think Joshua versus Miller is still a fight that would be good at the box office. It's a fight that commercially I still think is an amazing fight, you know, and I still want to see it, and I still want Sky Sports to release the gloves are off that we never got. That's right. That's right, David. Tell him, David. Tell him, David. Talk. Philip Hrgović. You know, I spoke on this briefly in my post-fight review video, but I'll speak on it some more since David brought it up. Put some respect on Philip Hrgović because that man has a chin that's made out of granite. Yes, what I learned watching the Dubois fight with Joshua is that, number one, Daniel Dubois is a lot better than a lot of us thought he was. And number two, Philip Hrgović is made out of steel because unlike the Hrgović fight, when Dubois started being physical with Joshua, leading with his head, elbows, some of the things that he did in the Hrgović fight that he got away with, they didn't allow that to fly in the Joshua fight. He got warned for it immediately, and he had to actually just beat him with his boxing skills. He couldn't beat him through the art of fighting, so he had to beat him through the art of boxing, right? So in the Hrgović fight, Hrgović had to deal with Daniel Dubois, the boxer, and Daniel Dubois, the fighter, roughing him up, being physical. And not once did Hrgović ever hit the canvas. Not once did he take a knee. And unlike Joshua, he won multiple rounds. Some people even thought that he was winning the fight before the stoppage, or at least that it was close. So I still think watching that fight, what I learned is, which is what I already knew. I didn't need to see this fight to know this, but it confirmed to me that, you know, Philip Hrgović, just so long as he gets mentally right and doesn't take this loss too harshly, he can still beat anybody on his best night in the heavyweight division. I still don't think we've seen the best of Hrgović in the heavyweight division, and I think a lot of that is down to training habits and some things mentally he needs to get straightened out. That's some of what I think and some of what I know. Like I know Philip personally, and I know mentally there's some things he's dealing with that he needs to get overcome. And then the thing that I think is that I think that he overtrains himself. That's why the guy that's on there in the ring on fight night is not matching the guy that I see in the gym. So, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens when he comes back, you know. Last comment, and then I'll go ahead and get back to my next speaking point. I can't lie, man. I genuinely believe this was another Ruiz situation. I think AJ simply got hurt early and never recovered. How his low lead handstands was a horrible tactical decision. It was, but I don't view this as a Ruiz. Ruiz, at that time, AJ hadn't lost. AJ had that aura. He had that undefeated level, that aura of invincibility. You know, he was the guy that was really in the driver's seat of heavyweight boxing and just boxing in general at that time. That was a bigger shock to me when you consider, especially when you consider how that fight started. That fight started with Ruiz getting dropped. You know, so when Ruiz got dropped, Anthony Joshua at that time, and even now, he's got a reputation for being a very good finisher when he has you hurt. And it was no different in that fight. We thought that he was going to finish Ruiz off. Ruiz caught on the temple, and then the rest is history. This is a fight where I thought all week, you know, that Anthony Joshua, you know, he could definitely win the fight, but he was going to be in some trouble because Dubois had some things with him that he hadn't really dealt with for a long time. Like Wallin didn't have what Dubois brought to the table. Not Usyk. You know, Helenius, these guys, Ngannou, these guys that people were getting gas off AJ beating, they did not have the level of youth, size, athleticism, agility, punching power, physicality of a Daniel Dubois. So I can't say that it was like another Ruiz. I can't agree with you on that one. But getting to the next speaking point, all right. I'll say it like this, man. And I made a whole, and I want to pull it up actually. I want to pull it up so you guys can read it. I want to read it. I want you guys to read it along. Let me see if my computer's not tripping, because I made a community post and I pretty much had said that I think this fight right here with Dubois, you know, beating up AJ the way he did and whatnot, I think it marked the official end of the, you know, the Joshua Klitschko, Joshua Wilder Fury era, I should say. To me, this was the end of that, and I want to actually pull the community post up on screen so you guys can read along, because I feel like we're in an interesting time. I know Fury still has to fight Usyk, but like, look, even if Fury, let's say if Fury beats Usyk, right? I don't think he's gonna beat Usyk in the rematch, but if he does beat Usyk, I don't think that it matters. I think, you know, he'll be Fury's gonna bow out gracefully, enjoy his millions, and call it a career. I don't think he'll fight after that, just being honest. So this is what I wrote. I wrote this. I said this. I said yesterday's one-sided loss to Daniel Dubois, in my mind, marked the official end to the Joshua Wilder Fury era of heavyweight boxing. They've all now gotten old and have exercised behavior in the ring that emulates that of older fighters who have lost their love for the sport. It's been a fun era, but it left a lot to be desired. Each guy had their turn to grab the division by the horns, and none of them could. All of them made loads of money, but none of them fully capitalized on what the era could have been. Joshua versus Wilder never happened. Josh versus Fury never happened. And these guys let a cruiserweight come up and move them out of the way to become the dominant heavyweight of the era. Alexander Usyk conquered the era of heavyweight boxing he wasn't even supposed to have a part in. That should tell you everything about that you need to know about Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and how they were all moving their career. Congrats once again to Daniel Dubois on whooping Anthony Joshua. He's one of boxing's true warriors and deserves some serious consideration for Fighter of the Year, which we already touched on. So that was my post from yesterday, and a lot of people, there were some things in there that they didn't understand. So I'm gonna clear it now that I'm here in video format. I can tell you, I can tell what I meant. So one issue people have with what I said there is that they had an issue that I was saying that they let Usyk take the division over, and they think that I'm insulting Usyk, which I'm not insulting Usyk. They did let him take over the division because the reality is this: is if Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua find a way to hammer out a deal for an undisputed fight in 2018 or 2019, Usyk's not even in the picture, you know. And if you want to even take it even further down the timeline, Tyson Fury even doing something so much as like fighting Francis Ngannou, that was extra time Usyk got to fill out into being a heavyweight. So these guys, I mean, and in Joshua's case, he fought Usyk twice and lost. So and Fury lost as well. So I say that to say these guys, through their actions, allowed Usyk to become relevant in the division. And then when they had their chances to fight him, they either A, prepared well and lost like Joshua, or B, they had miscalculations in preparation like Fury, wasted valuable time like Fury fighting Ngannou, then they lost to Usyk. So due to the decision making and things like that, they let Usyk take over the division. Because what's funny is, I remember in 2019, I when I went to the UK, I was there at the Gatwick Airport out there in London, and I went to the newsstand, and at the newsstand they had a magazine, a Boxing Monthly magazine. You know, and Boxing Monthly was a great publication for many years in the UK. They don't exist anymore, but one of the last Boxing Monthlies ever published, it was a cover that had Joshua, Fury, and Wilder on it, and they were basically trying to figure out. They're writing about who would be the dominant heavyweight of the era. So 5 years later, we got our answer, and the answer is none of them. Usyk is the dominant heavyweight of the era because Usyk is the guy that came up, beat two of the big three, and became undisputed. So even if Fury beats him, I think Usyk is still the man because Usyk did it first. Usyk ended the undisputed heavyweight drought, which had been there for 20-something years, had all the odds against him, and he found a way to prevail. So, you know, I've had a great time covering this era, like Joshua, Fury, Wilder, and I you know, I've never seen Tyson Fury fight in person. I never saw anything. The only guy of these three I've seen fight in person was Wilder, but I've gotten a lot of views covering all these guys. But I think as good as it was, because they all gave us great moments, like Wilder knocking out Brazil the way he did, and some of these fights, Luis Ortiz as well. Great fights, you know. Anthony Joshua, the Vladimir Klitschko fight, the classic fight, the Povetkin domination. Even in his losses to Andy Ruiz, you know, really good fight. First fight, the Usyk fights, really good fights, even in losses. You know, Tyson Fury versus Wilder, a great trilogy. So it's not like we didn't get good positive things to come out of the era. I'm not saying it was a terrible era. I'm not trying to put these guys down. I'm a fan of all of them, but that era between those three of heavyweight boxing, it's not everything it could have been. You know, granted, Joshua can still fight Wilder, right? And that'd be cool, and Fury can still fight Joshua, but it's not gonna mean now what it meant when, let's say, Joshua and Wilder were undefeated in 2018, 2019. It's not gonna mean what Joshua versus Fury for undisputed could have meant, you know, a couple years down the line from that. So that's what I'm saying. I would have loved to see these guys have fought each other, but look, God is the best of planners, and I guess God didn't want none of them to be undisputed. He wanted Usyk to be undisputed, so that's why allowed it to happen. So yeah. Congratulations on a great era. Shout out to Joshua. Shout out to Fury. Shout out to Deontay Wilder. I've appreciated their careers for a long time, and you know, looking forward to the next era. I feel like Dubois is part of that next era, that next crop. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But let me go to the comments. Make sure you smash that like button. It's your boy BT, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. This is, in fact, the aftermath of Dubois versus Joshua. So smash that like button, super chat. Give me your thoughts. I want to hear from you guys. Shout out to my man David. He says Hrgovic took clean shots from two of the hardest punches at heavyweight, Zhang and Dubois, and was never in any serious trouble. Yeah, no, Hrgovic is tough as nails. I mean, he's super. He doesn't have the issues Dubois. His issue ain't toughness. He's got toughness in spades. I think Hrgovic needs to work on his mental discipline in the ring. There's some things technically he needs to improve on, and I was watching the Dubois fight with Hrgovic during the week, and when I watched it, what I saw was that Filip Hrgovic is about 2 technical improvements away from being able to really beat anybody in the division. Right now, he could compete with anybody in the division. I'm talking about being all he could be. He's still 32. 32 isn't old for a heavyweight. He can still mature into something really good and be champion. And I think he will be champion. I still hold true to that. I haven't given up. Dubois might have the best jab at heavyweight. It's a very thudding sledgehammer jab, very quick, very youthful. I ain't mad at that. Yeah, that era is done. Hurricane Hank says Usyk is just built different. Usyk is a great fighter. I thought he got stopped though. I know you're gonna disagree, but I thought Usyk was got bailed out, and I guess for the best. If they would have given Dubois that win, then we don't get to see Dubois fight Hrgovic and Joshua and these kind of guys. So it worked out. But if Usyk has any plans to continue fighting, if he gets past Fury, I'll like to see the Dubois Usyk rematch for sure. But look, switching gears because it ain't just about Dubois. Shout out to Dubois. I want to touch about Anthony Joshua, and believe it or not, this is actually my last speaking point because I'm not gonna really harp too much on Dubois Joshua, but I'm gonna say it like this because Anthony Joshua, he came out and he said pretty much like Anthony Joshua came out and he said that he's not going to retire. He's not considering retirement. He's going to continue to fight on because that's what fighters do. They continue to fight on, right? So my thing is this. If he's going to continue to box, then there's only one fight. Maybe 2. You could say Joe Miller, but really and truthfully, there's one fight that he needs to deliver to the boxing world, and that's the Deontay Wilder fight. And the same goes for Wilder. If he's going to continue to box, I don't want to see him against nobody else. He only has one fight to deliver to the boxing world. And the fight that needs to be made is finally Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. Now, obviously, it's not going to be them in their primes. It's not going to be them fighting for undisputed like it could have been. But at least this could at least be like a Kell Brook, Amir Khan situation where, okay, it wasn't everything it could have been, but at least we got to see it, type thing. So I would like that because I think right now, the fight right now between those two is actually just as even as it was back in 2018, 2019 because I think they're both about as washed as one. They're both as washed as the other. I think they're both equally as vulnerable. I think they both have what Wilder has 2 losses. Wilder's got 4 losses, 3 or 4 losses. Anthony Joshua got 4 losses. So they're literally at the same stage of their boxing careers. I would love to see that fight happen. And at this point, look, Joshua has made millions upon millions and millions of dollars. His legacy as a British boxing legend is cemented. I'm not sure. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but he might get into the Boxing Hall of Fame just because of everything he did for boxing. But his legacy, at least in the UK and for this era of heavyweight boxing, it's cemented. He's a fantastic fighter. Deontay Wilder, legacy cemented, was part of a great trilogy, one of the hardest punches in history. His legacy cemented as well, made millions in the bank. These guys have secured everything that you try to get out of boxing. This fight has to be for the fans. This is you got your money. You've secured your family's financial future. You've stamped your reputation in boxing. You have to now deliver the fight you guys talked about for years. And now there really shouldn't be any excuse. Why? Because Wilder has worked with Turki Al-Sheikh. Joshua has worked with Turki Al-Sheikh. There should be if there was ever a time where this fight should happen, it should be now. It should be right now because I know they're both washed up. I know they're both old. I know they're both past it. But Anthony Joshua and Wilder, if they're both going to box and if they're not going to retire, we don't want to see them in there with nobody else but themselves. So do what's right for the fans and just give them this fight. Um, it, for Joshua, the only fight that he could take besides Wilder that I would have zero problem with is the Jarrell Miller fight because they have unfinished business. Miller actually looked. If we're comparing like performance based off last fight, which I don't like doing normally, but in this case, Jarrell Miller looked way better in his last fight against Andy Ruiz than Joshua did against Daniel Dubois. So I think based on current form, based on where they're at, that fight would be acceptable. But this is the time where they got to get back to the fans. I know these days sometimes boxers like to say, well, the fans don't do this and the fans don't do that, and they want to disregard the fans. My thing is, a lot of fans, both in the UK and America, were left very disappointed with a sour taste in their mouth because that fight didn't happen. Now you can say I don't care what side you're on. I don't care if you say like Anthony Joshua ducked the $50 million offer from Wilder that we don't know was real or fake. I don't care if you say that Deontay Wilder turned down multiple fight offers with Anthony Joshua and turned down $120 million from DAZN for Undisputed. The reality is it takes two to negotiate. It takes two to tango. They couldn't come to an agreement, and it is what it is. That falls on both of them. So I think that they need to go ahead and make this fight for the fans and just do the right thing. If their true intention is to continue boxing, because as of right now, Joshua's saying he still wants to fight, and Deontay Wilder is saying that he ain't retired yet either. So that's where I'm at with that. So yeah, but let me go ahead and go to the comment section. Let me see. Addery Pennant says, "True School. There's a lot much more better quality heavyweights now than in the Klitschko's era." I'm not mad at that, but part of why I'd probably push back on that thought a little bit is because is there really more quality heavyweights now than the Klitschko era, or are the guys at the top, apart from Usyk, just so vulnerable that it makes everything feel more competitive? Because people say Vladimir Klitschko was boring. Vladimir Klitschko was a truly dominant heavyweight, and so was Vitaly when he was active as well. So I would probably tend to agree with you, but I'll push back a little bit and say I think part of that too is also because Klitschko was just a more dominant heavyweight than, let's say, Joshua, Fury, or Wilder. He just was until he lost to Fury when he got older. During Fury's hiatus, it was Joshua Parker and Wilder being spoken about of who will be the heavyweight king while all undefeated. Who would have thought in 2024 Parker would have the momentum on his side? Yeah, Parker, Joseph Parker. I'm still a big Joseph Parker fan. I love Joseph Parker, and I've really loved his contributions to the era of heavyweight boxing. He's never ducked nobody. He's always been willing to fight whomever, whenever, and wherever for the most part. And yeah, I mean, he's one of the top 5 heavyweights in the world right now. I would say, Usyk, Fury, Dubois, and then after that, right, number 4, the only guy of the guys who aren't champion, Joseph Parker is the number 1 fighter in the world. No doubt about it. Based on what he's accomplished, based on current form, based on just everything. Yeah, it's crazy how his career has panned out, and Andy Lee deserves a lot of credit for that. So shout out to him. History Vault says, BT, I'm late. I don't know if you already talked about the Bum versus Can. Where does cab drivers fall? Okay, so earlier today, I want to address this. So basically, not today, but like a couple days ago, I was in the gym. It was me, Johnny, and my good buddy Angelo Leo, the IBF champion. We were talking about boxing, and I was talking about I used the word can, like I called some fighter a can, a subpar fighter a can, and they said, "Why do you call guys cans, BT?" And I said, "Well, because I feel like the word bum is very disrespectful, and I like the word can, like a soda can, It's just a term I've heard over the years. I like that term. It's better than bum. I think bum is very disrespectful to fighters that put the hard work into the gym and really are the bravest athletes in the world. So I don't use the word bum. I use the word can. Cab driver, though. Cab driver, that's an old term from that. I'm pretty sure that term probably originated from like back in the day, like the 20th century when, these guys have 300 fights and they literally would be fighting cab drivers, guys that were just journeyman boxers to pay their light bills. So I didn't talk about it, but yeah, I don't think Can is that disrespectful when you're describing a guy that you think is a subpar fighter or a superior, a much more inferior fighter to who he's fighting in the ring. Bum, though, to me, bum is like in boxing terms, it's like a racist term. I don't like that word because I feel like it's too demeaning to fighters. David says I would favor Joshua against Wilder. I think he still has a lot more left than Wilder. Quite possibly. I'll tell you this: if he can't defend, because Joshua against Dubois could not defend a jab. If he can't defend a jab or a right hand, he might still get knocked the hell out by Deontay Wilder. I just think that fight would be great for boxing. They need to go ahead and do that next, and then both of them can retire on that note. And look, if it's a great fight, if it's a close fight, if it's a fight that people want to see and they still want to box, you can run it back. Shout out to my guy right here. He says AJ made every mistake in the book. Something was off. No excuses. He got whooped. He made mistakes. I think Ben Davison and it's funny enough. I'll play the clip for you. So Don Charles, and shout out to Don Charles. Don Charles did a fantastic interview with Radio Raheem, and shout out to brother Radio Raheem. I want to give Radio Raheem his flowers. People oftentimes ask me, they say, BT, who are some of the guys that you look up to in boxing media? And I normally always say Sean Tuttle, and Sean Tuttle is one of those guys for me. But the other guy that I've learned so much from, and quiet as kept, most people don't even know this, but for a very, 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 very brief moment in time, I got to actually work with him and kind of be his understudy for like one fight week. And that's Radio Raheem. I got a lot of respect for Raheem. He does great interviews. He's been doing great interviews before I even started covering boxing, and he's still doing great interviews now. So I'm still learning from him, and I want to give his flowers. But yeah, he did an interview with Don Charles, and Don Charles had a lot to say about Ben Davison and film study, and that kind of ties into the point I'm going to make next. So let me just play a few what Don Charles said about Ben Davison and this film study stuff that they do. So there you go. So to touch on what he said, like I think, and this is just me. This is my opinion. I think because I know that Lee Wiley and Ben Davison, they're very big on film study, which I'm obviously very big on film study. I'm part of the film study team for Angelo Leo, and I was for the Venado Lopez fight. So obviously I'm not going to talk shit about film study, but there is such a thing as placing too much of a premium on film study, because the thing about boxing is no matter how many fights a fighter has had or how many fights you watch, guys can make adjustments, they can tweak things, and you can get a whole different version of that fighter on any given night. So it's important to really keep what you do as a priority first, and then you watch film study to fine tune things in your game plan. And when I watched Joshua, what it looked like to me, it looked like he was looking for the straight right hand, because in the previous fight, Filip Hrgović landed a whole truckload of straight right hands against Daniel Dubois. Now, Filip Hrgović, and I've been saying this for the longest time, even before he fought Dubois, Filip Hrgović is one of the best at landing the straight right hand in the heavyweight division. He's got one of the best straight right hands in the heavyweight division. Anthony Joshua does not throw his straight right hand like Filip Hrgović. He does not set up his punches like Filip Hrgović. And funny enough, I think he had the reason why I think he had his lead hand low and he was trying to throw that. I think the reason why Joshua tactically had his lead hand low was because he was trying to set up the same straight right hand that Filip Hrgović would throw. And guess what? He's not Filip Hrgović. He doesn't fight like Filip Hrgović, so it wasn't going to work. And I think they probably overstudied. They overstudied. Maybe Joshua's conditioning wasn't as good either. And on top of that, Dubois came out like a bat out of hell, and he just couldn't do nothing with him. So, yeah, you need to find the right balance between definitely training comes first. You gotta train with the fighter. You gotta build his skill set. You gotta build his conditioning. Then after you do that, then you have your strengths. You build on your strengths. Then you watch film. Like film study is the last thing you do to fine tune, right? It should never come before what you do. And I feel like watching him fight, AJ changed way too much, I think, and it played right into Dubois' hand, and that's why he got a severe beating. So Yeah. Don Charles is a great coach. He took a limited fight like Chisora to 2 world title shots in a great career. Yeah, I'm giving him his flowers because I kind of wrote him. I never really thought highly of Derek Chisora, and I didn't really take like the ample amount of time to really study the training career of Don Charles. But obviously he won now, so I'm doing a lot more digging on Don Charles. He never had a fighter as talented as Dubois. They were always these British level guys like Tom Little and Derek Chisora and Ian Lewson, guys that just were not going to ever be that because they didn't have the talent. So it didn't matter how good or bad of a coach he was. If he doesn't have the guy who has the talent to be elite, he's not going to be able to get there. So he said in the Radio Raheem interview that Daniel Dubois took him to the promised land, and he's grateful. And I listened to the whole 40-minute interview, and I actually learned things about boxing listening to Don Charles talk. So respect to him. Let me see who else we got here. Shout out to Hand History Boy. He says, BT, what are your thoughts on Melvin Jerusalem's first title defense? I see you didn't make a video about it. I haven't even watched it yet, to be honest with you. Yesterday, I had a very busy day. It was a very, very busy Sunday, and I kind of needed some time away from the computer, so I didn't get a chance to really check his fight out. But I promise you, once I watch his fight, because I gotta do a video about him, I gotta do a video about Charlie Suarez. I still gotta do a video about Jin Sasaki from a couple weeks ago. Like I'm backed up with content, so we'll see how I'll let you know. I don't have any thoughts right now, but you kind of spoiled it for me. I didn't even know he won, so shout out to you. Shout out to Pops. He says, I'm having a beer right now for all the supporters. I say thank you all for the support. Yeah, shout out to Pops again with the super chat. If y'all wanna donate to the channel like Pops, feel free to go ahead and super chat. Definitely would help. We do have some lofty ambitions here on True School Sports to go back to Japan at some point, so those definitely help. I'm planning a trip to Japan early next year, so we're looking forward to that. BT, I can't wait for the first Amazon non-pay-per-view. Al Heyman, Joannas Tellis, Matthias Tapia, finally a card that doesn't involve Turkey. I haven't had a chance to go ahead and look at that card. I know it's Tim Tszyu versus Murtalatsev. That'll be fun. Tim Tszyu's challenging for the world title. But yeah, I'm happy that the fine folks at PBC are doing a non-pay-per-view event. I would like to see them get some more dates for their fighters and keep their guys busy. You can't just keep there's a lot of price gouging going on in boxing. The pay-per-view market is extremely, extremely, extremely oversaturated. So I would like to see Al Heyman go ahead and get these non-pay-per-view schedule going. That's what boxing needs. I know, Rocky. I was actually gonna make one before I went live, but I just didn't have the time. So tonight, before I go to sleep, I'm gonna honor your because you've been talking about Charlie Suarez now for months, and I didn't get around to it. So I did watch him fight. I did watch him fight against Jorge Castaneda. I thought he looked great. I thought he looked the part, and it's very easy to see why you've been on a crusade for him on my channel. So definitely, there will be a Charlie Suarez video coming up, and I'll definitely start getting Charlie Suarez in his name just in the True School Sports rotation of videos. Because once I do that first video about a fighter in the rotation, I make a more conscious effort to start covering their career. So he's definitely a player at 130. He's exciting. He's ferocious. He's hard. He's a hard hitter. He's a volume puncher. He's someone that I feel like if more people knew who he was, they'd want to watch him fight. Because after watching it against Jorge Castaneda, I want to watch him fight more. So yeah, he'll definitely be getting his videos soon. So yeah, man. But I pretty much ran through everything I wanted to say about Joshua and Dubois and whatnot. If y'all want to continue adding thoughts, you can. But look, ask anything you want. Boxing related, non-boxing related. I'm not sure how long I'm going to stay live. It's 8:51. But I have to go to the gym for my second workout of the day, probably in the next 30 to 40 minutes. Because quiet as kept, your boy BT's been working out. I've been, sometimes doing 2 a days. So, I know I'm going to go do my second workout of the day probably in the next 40 minutes to an hour, but I just don't know when I'm going to leave yet. But ask while I'm here. While you got me here, ask whatever the hell it is you want, and we're going to go ahead and talk that boxing here on True School Sports, I know this weekend we got Shushu Carrington taking on Suleiman Segal, which I'm really excited about because it's a very notable fight in the featherweight division. You know, Shushu Carrington's one of the top contenders in the featherweight division, and Segal is no pushover. He's beaten some good guys in the past, like Elijah Pierce, Ruben Villa. He's not someone to overlook, because so if Shushu ain't careful, I mean, I don't want to, because like when it comes to guys at featherweight, I don't want to say too much about like their weaknesses, because you know Angelo might fight them, but like Shushu has some things he needs to correct, and if he don't correct them, this fight could wind up being very problematic for him. I'll just leave it at that. But I think he should win. He's gonna have a quickness advantage. He's gonna probably be able to keep the fight mid range and do his thing like normal. But don't sleep on Sagawa. James wants to know, what kind of food do I have planned for later? That's a good question. Normally I eat my eggs every day. I didn't eat my eggs today because I went to the gym kind of late. I'm trying to actually cut back on the eggs now because I've been eating like I have a very skinny. I'm a lean guy. I have a very lean frame. So when I work out, I burn calories up like crazy, and I get very hungry. And I be like, I kid you not, when I get back from workouts, I be down to like 4 or 5 eggs at a time. You know, 4 or 5 eggs, sometimes 6 if I'm hungry enough. So I'm cutting back on the eggs because it's been like a daily thing. I've been eating a lot of eggs, so I'm trying to make sure my cholesterol don't get high. You know, I'm trying to make sure I don't have a heart attack. So I'm gonna chill on the eggs. Later on, I'll probably have some. I bought these chicken patties, like these little like chicken Tyson patties. I probably have some of those. No, I'm not walking to the gym. I'm going to the gym with somebody. Moses Talma to be in the heavyweight mix in 3 years. I think Moses, with the way they're moving him, it'll be a lot shorter than 3 years. You know, these guys like Usyk and Fury and Joshua, they're not gonna be here in a couple of years. I don't think they will be. So I think Moses Talma winds up probably being a contender. I'm gonna actually say, I'll make a bold prediction. I think Moses Talma winds up being a top contender in the division in 18 months, year and a half, because they want to fast track him. I know the fight that they've been trying to do for Moses Talma is him and Solomon Dakers, who's the heavyweight from Birmingham, but Solomon Dakers apparently doesn't want to take the fight because I don't know, but yeah, he's gonna be a big factor in boxing pretty soon, I think. Hyro says, "Damn, you're gonna work out again? Damn, is one workout for 3 hours not enough?" Well, I didn't work out for 3 hours today. When I worked out today, it was only like a little like 1 hour workout. This one probably like an hour and a half, maybe 2. But yeah, no, it's good. It's good. You know, working out for me is good because I have a lot of anxiety from just being on the computer all day, boxing, the stresses of making boxing content sometimes, other stuff in boxing that comes across my way. You know, I'm really and truthfully, I'm really just I need to work out as much as humanly possible to stay sane. BT, do you remember Jerry Corey? Oh, I do remember Jerry Corey. He was a contender. I believe he fought Muhammad Ali. I think he fought. What did he fight? Joe Frazier, Ken Norton. I know he was just a solid contender at that time. That was like the guy back then, Jerry Corey. That was one of the guys that would give the heavyweights some problems. James said, "I'm getting tired just hearing you talk about work." Yeah. I'll stop talking about working out. It's just I got really fat like when I was in Vegas. I remember my stomach. I touched my stomach one day, and I said, "No, I'm too fat." So like towards the middle of last month, I started going back to the gym, and I've been going to the gym 3 to 4 times every week. And on some of those days, I do work out twice. You know, so you know, and I feel good. That's why I feel like it's all connected. Like when I'm not working out, I'm not going live as much because I don't have the energy to go live. But when I'm working out, I go live more. So you guys should want me to work out. Encourage it, because the more I work out, the more lives you'll get. Do you think Top Rank will ever match up Richard Torres with Jalalov? That's a great question. Top Rank is very smart, and you know everyone knows what happened to Torres when he fought Jalalov. I think I could see. I think they'll take the time with Torres, but if they feel Torres may have a chance to at least make it a competitive fight, and they built enough value on him, yeah, I can see that. I can see them making that fight in like 2, 3 years. I'm not sure how old Jalolov is, but I would assume that he's a bigger. He's an older heavyweight because these Uzbek guys are normally older. They normally turn pro at a later age because they spend a long time in the amateurs. I can see it, but it won't be anytime in the near future. Ooh, my dad said enjoy your workout. Yeah, I will. Thank you, Pops. Again, this live has officially been sponsored by Pops, the other half of True School Sports, which we're gonna have Pops. I don't know when yet, but at some point this week, I want to get Pops back on the channel because I know a lot of you guys did enjoy Pops on the last live. So I want to make that a weekly thing. At least get Pops on here once, once a week at least. Jared Anderson versus Torres. I like that fight. They should do that fight. I mean, we need to have a solidified guy as an American heavyweight. I know Jared Anderson just got absolutely positively exposed by Martin Bacoli, but I think if you match them up, it'd be a good fight. Torres likes to come forward. Volume puncher, can fight in angles at times. Jared Anderson's a smaller heavyweight who can switch hit, counter punch. Doesn't have world class power, but is a very good athlete. It could be a really fun fight. Why not? But I don't think that fight would make sense right now because they're not gonna do that with Jared Anderson coming off a loss and Torres being so early in his career. That's a fight. That's a fight they make down the line. But shout out to everybody here rocking with me. It's your boy BT, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. Rock with you guys on a. If you're on the West Coast, it's Monday night. If you're on the East Coast, it's now going to be a late or early Tuesday morning. Yes, sir. How about Torres versus Caballero, or do you think that's too big of a? Yeah, right now I think that's too big of a step up. I think something like like Stephen Shaw. Stephen Shaw, maybe like who's that guy? Who's that guy? Joe Goodall, something like Stephen Shaw, Joe Goodall. Maybe like if you really want to push it, like if you really believe in Torres, maybe like in 2 fights, Efe Ajagba, because Efe Ajagba, he's big and he's strong and he has improved over the years, so I give him credit for that. But I still don't think he's all that good. He's solid, but I don't think he's like elite, creme de la creme. I think in like 3 fights, 2-3 fights, Torres could beat Efe Ajagba. Honestly, might even be able to beat him now, to be honest. Just because Efe Ajagba beats guys off of his strength, but if he can't outmuscle you and hit you with that one big shot, you can outwork him. You can beat him. Hyro says, since BT, you're the home of boxing, are you going to watch that Top Rank show with Michaela Mir or that Bumgarner on Brink TV? I'll give the pass for women's boxing. I'm going to watch the Mir show because it'll be easier to access. I'm not going to jump through all those hoops to watch Alicia Bumgarner, but when I title the live, I'm not going to title it Michaela Mir versus Sandy Ryan live fight reaction. I'm going to title it Bruce Carrington, Sully Montsegawa live fight reaction plus Michaela Mir. That's how it's going to be titled. Guido Vianello versus Torres Jr. Good fight. I can see that fight being a possibility, but I'm kind of holding out hope that in a perfect world, I would like to see Guido Vianello get the hurt. I like Philip Hergovich to fight Guido Vianello. I want Philip Hergovich to get a win again. Guido is coming off of a good win against Makhmudov, and I would like to see Hergovich get a chance to fight him. Guido's an Olympian, good fighter, solid, but definitely beatable, and get in the back of the win column and start going after these heavyweights, man. I still think he's one of the best out there. And I think at some point down the line, he's going to have some things to say in this division, just wasn't his time when he fought Dubois. But that loss is aging well. Even though he lost, the manner in which he lost is aging well because he didn't get dropped like Joshua, and he actually landed a whole truckload of right hands. He just couldn't. He had the stamina of the gas to do what he wanted to do to Dubois. Why do you talk about Vito and not the guy that beat him like Johnny Rice? Talk about Vito. What do you mean Vito? You mean Guido? Johnny Rice. I mean, I love Johnny Rice. Johnny Rice is my guy, but Johnny Rice, we ain't seen him since Stephen Shaw. We ain't seen Johnny Rice in a hot little minute. So if Johnny Rice could get active again, listen. I would love to talk about Johnny Rice. Johnny Rice is one of my favorite heavyweights in the division. He's got a good personality. Has actually probably one of the better straight right hands in the division, but he just hasn't been active yet. So maybe I gotta hit him up and see what's going on with him. See what's going on with good old Johnny Rice. And he got a couple Al Heyman checks on, and then he went. He kind of just stopped fighting. Cairo said, "I'll give you a pass, funny." No, he beat Guido. He beat a lot of guys, man. Johnny Rice is a good fighter. Of course, I remember him beating Guido. He beat the shit out of Guido. It was that right hand that did it. Let me see. We got any other questions? Let me see. Leo Donald says Tony Oka had 2 low-key fights in the UK this year. Apparently, a fight with Joe Joyce is in the works. Well, that fight would make sense now because Joe Joyce he ain't been looking too hot in these last couple fights against Zhang and Chisora, coming off some losses. Yoka, he's coming off some wins, but he's fighting cans. So yeah, that fight's perfect. It'd be a rematch of the 2016 Olympic final. Why not? Rocky says, I might be in the minority, but I'm looking forward to the rematch of Boots versus Karen. You're not. Well, you are in the minority, but guess what? I'm in the minority with you, man. I am very excited about Boots versus Karen because I love Jerron Ennis. I got a lot of love for Jerron Ennis. I got a lot of love for his dad, Bozy Ennis, who I had a lot of great conversations with this during fight week for the Canelo fight because he was there training Stephen Fulton. We exchanged numbers. He invited me to come back to his gym in Philly. I love Bozy Ennis. I love Jerron Ennis. So I want to preface everything I'm about to say by first saying that. But to me, in that fight, I know everybody, people have said Boots won 12-0. He didn't win 12. I thought Boots lost 3 rounds that fight. And I thought he looked very regular in that fight. I thought Karen's footwork, his awkwardness, his counter punching in spots, it made him look bad. And I'm actually intrigued to see if if Boots can beat Karen in more dominant fashion this time around, like by stoppage. And my thing is this: if Karen actually goes ahead, and then Karen ups the punch output, but can still maintain that footwork and that movement, then man, oh man, I think Boots could really have a fight on his hands. So I love that fight because we're gonna get a chance to see the growth of Jerron Ennis. If there's been any, because these guys have been fighting like Avanesha. They're tailor made for him. Shout out to my main man Felipe. He says, "Yo, great videos this week, bro. Thank you, man. I've been working really, really hard on all facets on everything, and that's why I feel like God has rewarded me." And the channel's growing, so I'm gonna keep doing that. And yeah, I've been seeing the group chat. I haven't been reading everything, but I've been seeing a couple messages here and there. So I'll be in there soon. But thank you, man. Yeah, Bam's on the undercard. He's fighting Pedro Guevara. Pedro Guevara is a former champion. It's not the worst fight they could have made for Bam. I'm just not excited about it because I feel like Bam, and I'm not trying to slight Bam, but I'm just telling the truth. Bam has been fighting a lot of the older guys at 115, and he's been beating them soundly. He's been doing he's been doing his job. But now I feel like, okay, you beat the guys of the world. You beat Cuadras. You're not gonna fight Roman Gonzalez. You beat Ron Vasai. So why not fight maybe some of the fresher guys that are champions like Fernando Puma Martinez, who's a high volume puncher. If not him, why not fight the WBO champion, Kosai Tanaka, 4-division champion, one of the most skilled fighters around the weight class, one of the best fighters come from Japan. A guy that I know, it's not me having to insinuate because I am the source when it comes to this. Kosai Tanaka, when I interviewed him last year in Japan, called out Bam Rodriguez before he became champion. Now he's champion. He's a guy that if Bam has any ambitions to be undisputed, he's got to fight him. So my thing is, I'm kind of with Bam. I'm just kind of I'm gonna watch him. I'm gonna enjoy his fights, but I'm kind of treating his fights right now the way I'm treating Inoue's fights at 122. I'm gonna enjoy the wins. I'm gonna enjoy the performances. I'm gonna enjoy him displaying his skills. But wake me up when he's fighting certain guys. That's where I'm at. Wow, Bam got demoted to co-main event since he can't sell. Why put him on the card that isn't his demographic? No offense to the Philly people. Um, I just think the way Eddie Hearn probably sees it is it's two of his best young American stars fighting on the same card. So maybe in the future you might see Boots fight on the undercard of Bam. They may go to San Antonio and maybe Boots fights like a Mexican fighter on the undercard or something like that. I just think Eddie's trying to pair them up because when I went to the Crawford Madrimov fight and I covered that, they had Bam and Boots there for the media availability. Like they came to the event together. So I just think that might be a thing now. Like the way you saw Romo Gonzalez and Golovkin, or like back in the day when you had Michael Carbajal or Mike Tyson undercards, or something like stuff like that. I feel like they're gonna use those guys as a pair for cards. And it makes sense. They are two of Eddie Hearn's best young American fighters, two of Eddie Hearn's best young, like American talents. So why not? Alec Powell was good. He says, "What it do? What it do?" Alec Powell's in the building. Yeah, man, we're just talking boxing, talking that boxing talk, enjoying my lovely Monday before I gotta go do the second workout today. Week is off to a pretty good start. Looking forward to some things coming up in the future, boxing wise, non-boxing wise, some good things in the works for your boy BT. I'm really happy. I'm starting to get really happy about life, just joyful about life. No offense, but Bam doesn't have a country behind him like Estrada and Chocolatito do. No, he doesn't. He's not the guy. Like, I don't think Bam, at least not on the East Coast, like, because Philly is a long way from San Antonio, and Bam, I know ain't no damn ticket seller, on the East Coast, because he's never fought on the East Coast. But the thing is, he don't gotta be a ticket seller because Boots is a ticket seller in Philadelphia. So it's just a way to showcase him and keep him busy. That's how I look at it. I ended up going to the strip club Saturday after your live was over. Good for you, man. Good for you. I mean, I don't go to strip clubs. I ain't never been to a strip club. I don't got any ambition to go to a strip club, but do your thing, man. We're all grown adults here. Shout out to my dad. He said, again, with the super chat, he says, hockey season is starting soon. Nice Everton kid. Yeah, I'm still. So, to anybody who watches Premier League, I know like in 2019, 2018, 2017, when I used to always wear like Everton jerseys in my videos because I was just getting into like soccer and Premier League, and that's my team, Everton. They're pretty horrible now. And I lost all my Everton jerseys in 2019 because my luggage got lost when I came back from the UK. But yeah, Everton is still my favorite team. Shout out to the Toffees, the worst team in the Premier League. The worst. Rocky says, I saw Ring IQ's video that Hikachi is now planning to move to 135 and will vacate his IBF title. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Kakachi's a big 130 pounder, so it's not like the most surprising thing in the world. Congratulations to him on making a successful defense of the title against a good fighter in Warrington. And not just that, I think Kakachi is going to get a chance to make some real money at 35. 35 has bigger names, better opportunities for him. So God bless him. I'll tell you this, man. If there wasn't a possibility to go undisputed at featherweight or like potentially get the Inoue fight, I would love for Angel to fight at 130 and get the IBF belt. But that's probably not going to happen. 126 is where he feels comfortable. But man, a man can dream. But yeah, I wonder. Let me see. I wonder. Let me check the rankings. I wonder who winds up fighting for that belt. If Kakachi drops the belt, who's first in line? I know Sonny Edwards was. I'm not saying Sonny Edwards, but I'm saying like Rung Versailles, Gallo, Quadras. Those guys were all in their 30s and been through wars. I'm not talking about Sonny. Sonny's a great win. I never talk bad about Sonny. Sonny's a fantastic win. All I'm trying to say is I want to see Bam fight the other champions. That's all. Because I think he can beat those guys, and I also think I think he can lose to those guys too. I think they're great fight. I think Bam versus Puma is an amazing fight, and I think Bam versus Tanaka is a great fight. Those are fights I want to see. So right now, and it makes sense that of course, Kakachi is vacating his belt because that's what guys do at 130. Eduardo Sugar Nunez became mandatory challenger when was it Lee Wood? Lee Wood had the belt. I think it was Lee Wood, and he dropped the belt. Then Kakachi's champion. He didn't want to fight Nunez, right? Oh no, it was Cordina. Was it Cordina? It was Cordina. So Cordina was champion. Cordina drops the belt. Then it's just crazy. These guys don't want to fight Sugar Nunez. Cordina didn't drop the belt. Nunez became Cordina's mandatory, right? And then Cordina lost to Kakachi, and now Kakachi didn't want to fight. So Cordina didn't want to fight Sugar Nunez. Kakachi didn't want to fight Sugar Nunez. So Sugar Nunez is the number 1 contender, and then the number 3 contender is Masanori Rikishi, who had a really fun fight with this Italian guy whose name I can't remember. I think it was an Italian guy. He had like a fight of the year candidate because I remember hearing about it. Collazo is cherry picking the GOAT. Sad. You talking about Oscar Collazo? I've been hearing that Oscar Collazo is cherry picking. Who's he fight? Who's he even fighting next? Because Hiro was bitching and complaining about Oscar Collazo the other day, and I never even took a look at who his opponent was. Let's see. I'm gonna check right now since we're live and since we're talking about it. So he's fighting Edwin Cano Hernandez. Who the fuck is Edwin Cano Hernandez? With all due respect, I don't want to be disrespectful. 13-2-1, 4 knockouts. The 2 losses are to. Oh, he lost to David Jimenez. Okay, he got knocked out by David Jimenez in 3 rounds. So, yeah, he's I like Oscar Collazo. I think Golden Boy's trying to keep him busy and build his profile because, when you're a 105 pounder, it's really really hard to gain attention. So you gotta keep these guys extra active. I'm sure he is a cab driver. I'm sure he is, probably a can, but it is what it is. I want to see him fight Melvin Jerusalem. I want to see Oscar Collazo fight Melvin Jerusalem. Since neither one of the Shigioka brothers have belts, the fight to be to make now that Melvin Jerusalem has come back, become champion, defended the belt once. Right now, for me, Melvin Jerusalem's the guy. That's the guy you got to fight. What are my thoughts on Clackback Thursdays? I think it's funny sometimes. I mean, Oscar doesn't really say much in those Clapback Thursdays that isn't painfully obvious. But if it's a way, it's a creative way for Oscar to keep himself relevant and create content and get his thoughts off about boxing. So shout out to him. I love Oscar. Eduardo, yeah, Japanese guy, LeBron, yeah. So the IBF, the rankings at 130 are getting pretty stacked. Melvin fought last Friday and defended his belt against the Mexican opponent they fought in the Philippines. Yeah, I know. I heard. I have to go watch it. I have to go do a video about Melvin Jerusalem, Charlie Suarez, and Jin Suzuki. Those are the 3 fighters' fights I haven't even done videos about yet that I have to go back and watch and make content for. But shout out to you guys here. Shout out to you guys here who are talking to me about boxing. Get your questions in. It could be boxing or non-boxing related. It's your boy BT, the Untouchable, True School Sports, live, late, live with you guys, talking the real and suppressing the fake. Yes, sir. Let me see. What comment did I miss? Bam versus Kenshiro Taraji. Oof. That's another guy. Kenshiro. When I interviewed Kenshiro last year in Japan, that's another guy that's called him out in my interview last year. So Kosai Tanaka and Kenshiro both called out Bam Rodriguez as a guy they wanted to fight last year when I interviewed him in Japan. So, he can go up or he can go down. There's someone from the fight. But if they fought next, I mean, Bam would be significantly bigger than Kenshiro. I think Kenshiro would have to find a way to, neutralize the fork of Bam Rodriguez, which would be very hard. So I don't think that fight ever happened. So I don't want to even break it down because they're not gonna fight each other. Explain the wall pieces behind you. So this is my little area. This is my little Yeah. Right now, I'm still getting settled into my set. You know, I gotta do some more decorating. I'm actually going to Florida for like a day and a half because I have a storage unit and I have some things that I left in storage. Like for those of you who really watch me, you guys may remember back in Florida, I used to have that big old flamingo painting. It was a flamingo painting that was yellow and it had these flamingos with sunglasses on and palm trees. It looked very South Florida. It's like a trademark of True School Sports. It's a trademark painting. I used to have all my backgrounds. That's in storage, so I had to go get that along with like a bunch of other stuff in stores, like my Marlon Stalin signed picture, my Michael Nunn signed picture, and I'm gonna hang it up. But to break down my current set, right? So right now, this is the hold on, where are we at? This is the credential wall. So these are all my credentials, like most of my credentials from covering fights. It's not all the fights I cover because some fights they didn't give you they don't give you credentials, like they give you these bullshit wristbands and things like that. So it's not every fight I've ever been to, but it's a lot of the fights I've been to. So yeah, got the credentials there. That picture there. In fact, let me get closer here because I want to show you this. This to me, I just got this recently. So this is hold on. This right here is a signed picture from my buddy and the IBF featherweight champion himself, Angelo Leo. So this is that's Angelo and right there, and that's Venato on the floor. And then Angelo signed it for me. He said, "To my good friend BT and the new Angelo Leo, two-time world champion." So that's very precious to me. Being part of that training camp, that's very precious to me. So that's one side of the wall, and then like that this side of the wall, it's like pictures of me as a kid and stuff. So just. It's in progress. The True School HQ in Vegas, it's in progress right now. Pedro Tajuron versus Daik Shang Shu on November 23rd in Korea. I think it'd be a good fight. I'm not even going to cat with you. I know Pedro is. I don't know about the other guys, so I'll have to do some research. But good to see 105 getting fights and moving along really well. Good fights there. My dad said, did Makhmudov start the Bear? Yeah. So Arslanbek Makhmudov, I don't know if you guys saw, but I posted a short, and my dad, and this is what my dad's referring to in the comment. Arslanbek Makhmudov was wrestling a bear in the woods, and the bear. I mean, he was doing his thing. He held his ground, but I think that's dumb. I think that's very, very dumb because if that bear fully realizes that it's a bear, his ass is grass. But hey. I guess you got to find some way to stay in shape. It's a great fight. It's number 2. Okay, I'll check it out. I'll check it out. Pedro Tajuron. What about Richard Torres versus Andrew Dubios? That's the perfect fight, actually, because Dubios is a smaller heavyweight. A guy that ain't really punching like that at heavyweight. A guy that at times doesn't know how to work on the inside. He's very beatable. I think Torres' style would mesh well with him. So why not? What are your thoughts on Umar? And are those I don't know those guys. Are those the guys from the Uzbek Olympic team? Because I know the Uzbeks won like 4 or 5 gold medals. Were those guys in the Olympics? I don't know about them, so I'm not gonna lie to you. Good for him. Good to see Jerwin Akajas get back in the win column. He had he had a bad knockout loss to Takuma, so good to see him. Yeah, I don't have any thoughts. I don't have any thoughts on that right now. The only Olympians I knew about were like the ones on the USA team and Marco Verde. I didn't really get a chance to really sink my teeth into the Olympics because when the Olympics were going on, I was in training camp with Angelo Leo. We were at the gym. We were at the gym every day, and if not at the gym, game planning for Venato. And if I wasn't game planning for Venato, I was making YouTube videos. And if I wasn't making YouTube videos, I was sleeping. So I didn't get a chance to really absorb the Olympics this year, to be honest with you. What are my thoughts on Victor Archinian? Victor Archinian was amazing. Good champion. Defended his belt. What was it, like 5? It was 6 times. Might have even been more than 6 times. Hard punching southpaw, very rugged and strong, like most Armenian fighters tend to be. I remember he beat up. So it was funny. I remember before Nonito knocked him out, Darchinian beat up his brother Glenn Donaire. a lot of people probably don't even remember that or recall that Nonito has a brother, Glenn. Darchinyan beat the brakes off him, and then Nonito came and got revenge for his brother. But yeah, no, Darchinyan was great for boxing. Very strong champion. Yeah, I liked him. So damn, that's crazy how someone like German Alcaz, like to me, it's crazy how in boxing you can really go from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows because German Alcaz was a champion fighting on big time networks for a lot of years, and now he's back to fighting on Facebook streams. So it's crazy how in boxing you scratch and you claw and you fight so hard to get to become champion. You become champion. You're in the limelight. You're fighting on these big time networks, and then you lose a couple fights. You get older, and now you're on Facebook Live. So hey, shout out to German Alcaz. I got a lot of respect for him. He held it down for a long time before he lost. And Kaz deserves to fight at the lowest. He was a ducker. Yeah, I know there was a lot of fights that he was supposed to make. Funny enough, people don't realize this about Joan Alcaraz. So Joan Alcaraz was actually supposed to fight Cal Yafai in late 2019. That's not public information, but it's information I learned because Cal confirmed it to me when I went to the UK in 2019. He was supposed to fight and Kaz was supposed to fight Cal Yafai in a unification fight in late 2019. And Kaz kind of like backed out of the fight, backed out of negotiations, and then that's what led Cal Yafai to take the Roman Gonzalez fight. So that's funny, just so you know that's what happened there with that. But look, man, he was Manny Pacquiao Promotions' his first world champion. Remember, I vividly remember. I recall making the video about it here on True School Sports years ago when he beat McJoe Arroyo. He beat McWilliams Arroyo's brother, McJoe Arroyo. Another one of my favorite fighters was Rafael Marquez. Rafael Marquez, an amazing fighter, dynamic southpaw from Texas. Yeah, he's one of those guys, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I know he fought Mark Too Sharp Johnson a couple times. I had to go watch his career more. I know he was great. I know he was I know he's in the Hall of Fame. Highly regarded. Everyone in boxing talks about him. He had the trilogy with one guy. I can't remember his name right now, but he had the trilogy. Like I still have to watch that trilogy. But yeah, from the little bit I see him, very very dynamic southpaw. But guys, look, I think on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I'm gonna go ahead and probably go work out and continue put the cap on this Monday. But look, I'm not sure if I'll be live tomorrow. So if I'm not live tomorrow, I'll be live Wednesday. I want to try to get an interview for Wednesday with someone. But look, you guys take care. Have a great Monday. Keep positive. Keep trying to strive for like all the things that God's put in your heart to get out of life, as I'm gonna do myself. And keep it locked to True School Sports. There's a lot of content here, a lot of content coming out, a lot of content I still got to edit. Like I still got interviews from last week that I never even put out yet. So lot of things dropping, a lot of things going on, and the channel's growing. So I'm very appreciative for everything. And I'll be live Wednesday, and of course I'll be live Saturday for Bruce Carrington's fight, on Top Rank. So you guys take care. I'll see you the next live. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.